Welcome back to Paul's Railroad, everybody. Hey, if you join me with my last video, which was Airbrushing 101, in that video we went through learning how to operate an airbrush, from setting up your brand new airbrush to loading it with paint to actually painting an object and to tearing it down and cleaning it. As a matter of fact, we painted a spoon in that video. I know, guys, a spoon. But hey, if you have not seen that video, I'll put a link somewhere around here. Go watch that video first before you watch this one. If you haven't airbrushed very often, that is, if you're new to it. Why? Because in this video, we are going to build upon those skills that we learned in the last video. Granted, those skills were very minor. They were very, very beginner skills. But in this video, folks, we're going to paint something better than a spoon. We're going to paint this. Now, what this is a 55-ton N-scale hopper car. As a matter of fact, I designed this myself in Fusion 360 and I printed this on my resin printer. Now guys, as my channel says, I am a model railroader, so we will be painting a piece of rolling stock today. But folks, the skills that you learn by watching this video on painting this can be applied to almost any modeling avenue out there. Maybe you're not a model railroader, perhaps you paint model cars. Perhaps you just do model dioramas. Heck, maybe you do wargaming terrain or even wargaming figures. The skills are going to apply to all of those. So guys, with that being said, let's hop in this video. Let's get this thing painted up. Okay, well, as most of you probably already know, the first steps in painting a model is cleaning that model up. Whether it be a model kit that you purchase from the store, or in this case, a resin printed model, or even an FDM printed model. For instance, on this one here, I had a whole bunch of support structures on the top layer here that I had to sand off the leftover smooth. You have to do that with most of your models to get rid of the flashing, if you will. Afterwards, I like to wash my models with a little bit of soap and water just to get rid of any oils or any other residues that would not allow the paint to adhere to your model very well. After that, I strongly suggest you take something such as this here. This is just a primer I bought at, I believe I bought this at Walmart. You buy this stuff pretty much anywhere. Make sure you buy a primer that is for use on your application, whether it be wood or plastic, and give your item a good priming first. This will help your paints adhere to your model so much better. All right. Now that we have our model washed, we have it clean and ready to go, and we have it primed, the next step is let's get into painting with an airbrush. So what I have done is I have loaded up my airbrush with some of this wicked black after I have reduced it a little bit. Why I have done that for is I like to do what's called pre-shading. So I'm going to take my airbrush and I am going to very lightly shade in where I think there will be shadows, dark areas on my coal car here, 55-ton hopper car, if you will. I'm not going to be able to hit everything because this is a very small model. I won't be able to get inside of there very good without making a mess. I'm not going to try. But the main parts where people's eyes will be going to, these are the parts that I will be painting for my shadowing effect, my pre-shadowing. And folks, I didn't mention this in my last video, and because it was, again, it was a very beginner's video, but traditionally when I'm painting, normally I paint two-handed like that, which I did mention in my last video, but with this, I'll be holding an object in one hand and I will be painting one-handed. However, what I want to say is that once you start with the air, keep the air on during your entire painting process. I don't mean through the entire hour that you're painting, but as I'm painting and shadowing this one side, I'm going to keep my air on until I'm completely done with this one side. Why is that, you ask? Well, because every time you turn the air off, a little bit of paint will congeal right around in the needle area here. And when you turn the air back on, a lot of times you'll get that spitting effect. I'm sure you've seen it or have even experienced it yourself as a first-time airbrusher. So I'll always leave my paint on as I'm painting a specific area. Once I'm done, if I turn my paint off, I will always move my airbrush away from my object that I'm painting and start it to get rid of any of that spit and spatter. We'll see if I get any during this process. Okay, enough talking. Let's get to painting. Okay, that is one side shaded. Let's start on the other side. See if we get any spatter. I don't know if we will or not. Well, no, not really, not too bad. You know, as a matter of fact, let me zoom in this time so you can see this a little bit closer as to what we're doing. All right, folks, this is kind of what we are going for our pre-shading. Anyhow, we'll let this dry for a little bit, and then we're going to come back with our primary color, and I'm going to mix up a Oxford red is what I'm going to go for this hopper car. Once this is dried up and I have my paint mixed up, we're going to lay down some more paint. Well, we have our paints mixed up, and if you're curious, if you like this color when we're done with it, this is what I have used. Again, I'm going back to my Creatix paints. This is their Wicked line, and I used a Wicked brown and a Wicked red, and this is literally 50-50, one drop of red to one drop of brown. That gave me what I'm looking for. It's a bit of a dark rusty looking color of red, an oxide red if you will, and of course I came back through and I reduced it or thinned it with my Wicked reducer. In this jar here, just so you know, I have 20 drops of red, 20 drops of brown, and I went with only 15 drops of the reducer. I did not want to over reduce it. If it is a little too thick, I can always add to it, but you cannot take away. So next step, after we get all shook up, is we're going to use our really fine screen filter here, and we're going to filter this paint, and then we'll load Airbrush and we'll start painting. Alright, here we go. Let's get her tested on the paper here real quick. Make sure we got no spatters. It's coming out real nice. And remember, air on, leave the air on. And thin coats, guys. Thin coats. As you can see, I have my airbrush pulled back kind of far away. That way I get a nice wide coverage. And don't be worried if you don't cover it all up on your first pass. Again, we want to do some nice thin coats so we do not get any runs. Even if you miss some, you come back in on your second, third, fourth coats, whatever it's going to take. Okay, that is our first coat. We're going to let this flash for a little bit. And we'll come back and we'll put on another coat. Alright, I'm going to show this next coat. After that, if I have any more coats, I'm not going to video them. You don't need to see me paint every single coat. But as you can see right now, we have a lot of the areas that we just didn't get. So I'm going to do another coat. And on this coat, I want to make sure I get as much covered as possible. So let's get started. Again, start your airbrush off your project. And then air on, get the air on, and just start painting. And you notice this time I'm going up and down on the side of my car. The first time I went side to side. I do like to change it up. That way I make sure I cover all the little nooks and crannies that you may not have hit by painting the other direction. Now guys, I am going to hit the bottom of this car just to get the paint on it to add more of like a primer coat, but I will be painting this black, but I will be painting the bottom of this car black by hand. Too much overspray. This car is way too small to be taping everything off to try to mitigate having overspray on the car. So we're going to get it just painted up with this. It's good practice anyways. If we mess up the bottom, guess what? Chances are nobody's going to see it. Now I'm not too worried about the interior because I'm thinking I might design and 3D print some coal to go inside of this car. So I just want to make sure I get the edges real well. And even if not, you know, they get beat up anyways. Alright, here is our hopper car all painted up. As a matter of fact, it didn't only take me 2 coats to get to this level. I did, however, come in with my airbrush and try to get inside these little crevices a little bit with it. With that being said, guys, a little piece of advice. When you have areas like this that are behind a main surface, go ahead with your airbrush and just try to get in there a little bit, but come back with a paintbrush to finish any areas that are a little more stubborn to get to. You most definitely do not want to take your airbrush and start flooding this area to get into the interior, because all you're going to do is just put so much paint on your exterior area, you're going to ruin this paint job. So it's so much better just to mist inside, get a little bit of color down, and come back with the paintbrush and get to the spots that you really can't get with the airbrush without ruining your model. Now, while I finished painting this one, I grabbed another hopper car and I painted it as well real quick. Again, only 2 coats, same amount of paint on both of these cars. I did that because I wanted to show you the difference. This one here is slightly darker because we did the pre-shading than this one. The reason I've done the pre-shading is this is a model railroad car. Model railroad cars are filthy. So we're going to be doing some weathering in an upcoming video to all of the cars once I get them painted. So I just want to show you the difference between something being pre-shaded and something not being pre-shaded. This one here looks like a brand new car right off the showroom floor. So guys, it's your model railroad. If you want to get a nice down and dirty piece of rolling stock, pre-shade it. If you want something that looks brand new, don't pre-shade it. All right, now that we have our models painted, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to give them a matte clear coat. I'm doing that because this is rolling stock that will be handled quite often, and I want to protect that paint from any scratches and dings and from the oils on my hands. So again, I'm going to give it a clear matte enamel. I don't want it glossy because it's a model railroad. If, however, you were painting a model car or something like that, or if you just wanted it glossy again, you could come back and you could paint it with a clear gloss, of course, to protect your model. All right, guys. Well, this brings us to the end of this video, but hold on before you leave real quick. I just want to tell you guys, if you guys are interested in me selling you stuff, keep watching. No, seriously though, a lot of these tools I've been using for years because they work really well. And if you're interested in looking at, like, for example, this strainer or this new air compressor system I love it very much. I'm gonna put links in the description below to Amazon where you can go find this stuff. Yeah, like I said, there are associate links. I get a little kickback from Amazon, but that's what keeps the lights on. It's what keeps me going as far as being able to buy supplies to make these videos. Every little bit helps. As you can see, I have a whole bunch more of these N scale hopper cars to get painted up. As a matter of fact, half of them I don't even have primer yet because I ran out of little sticks to hold them with. But like I mentioned in the video, once I get all of these painted up with the like the oxide red color, on our next venture with these, we're going to be weathering them. So if you want to see that, subscribe, hit the notification button, guys. That way you know when that video populates. It may be a little while. I have a few other videos I might do in between. Like I said, a lot of painting here to get done. Anyhow, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for spending it with me. God bless, and happy railroading, everybody.